Today on Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about the spine. So we've discussed the vertebra and the discs. We know that you have 33, 34 vertebrae, and the ones that really have movement are at 24 in total. In between the vertebra, we have the discs. The discs are super important for cushioning one vertebra against another. The discs are super important to create stability when you do movements. So we talked about movements as in just easy reference points. Bending forward of the spine is called forward flexion. When you arch your back backwards, it's called extension. When you turn shoulders or turn and twist the spine, right, that's called rotation. When you side bend, that's side bending. But what we don't maybe always know is that these movements kind of blend together. So if I ask you to do a movement that is dropping the shoulder toward the hip in a side bending, it's the top of the spine side bending toward the bottom. So it's a one-sided side bend, as opposed to bring your shoulder and the side of your butt toward each other at the same time, which we do that in class. So that's a double-sided side bending. It's different than a one-sided. We can also just do the bottom and lift up that butt cheek, right, which we do without moving the shoulder. And so that's a bottom side bending. So don't get crazy because there are a whole bunch of other ranges. What you need to understand is when you do a side bending, whether it's both sides, the top or the bottom, that side bending has a little tiny bit of rotation. The way that the upper thoracic vertebra, which are this mid area, that there are 12, are designed is that anytime you do a side bending, there's a little bit of rotation. When you do a pure rotation, let's say I say to keep your hip quiet and turn your shoulders and your head like a robot. You'll hear me say that. So I'm trying to get a pure rotation. That rotation has a little tiny bit of side bending. So as much as you want to think that movements are all plain and simple, like this is purple, right, which is not a primary color, but let's say I say this is red, this is blue, and this is green. There are really no clinical primary movement. Every movement has a little teeny bit of another movement blended into it. Why is that important? What do you care? It's important that you understand that because when I give you cues and I ask you to do things, sometimes I'm trying to make one range of movement stronger in the body. As we live modern life, there are certain movements that in everyday living are not done with enough frequency and with enough intention, that I am purposely not moving the hip and I'm side bending from top to bottom. And then I say, hold the shoulders quiet and lift up just the bottom from the top. And then I'll say, do both. Maybe. Let's just say there's different sequences that I can do that in. Maybe I do both first, then the bottom, then the top. Or maybe for that sequence, I'll do the top, the bottom, and then both. Or maybe both. You see where I'm going with this? The combinations are endless. Each combination that I do has a definite purpose and there's a meaning for it. I will not always stop and explain everything that I'm doing because or else we won't get through every class. But I want you to understand that the ranges of motion that you, me, and everyone, even Magilla Gorilla, need to keep your spine healthy, I will cover for you, whether you're doing 1 class a week, 2 classes, 5 classes, or 6 a week. I make sure that if you're doing at least 4 classes a month, that you're getting all the ranges of all the muscle fibers in all sequences that you need to stay healthy. Obviously, the more Pilates layers you get, the better the patterns will hold, but some is better than none. And 4 a month will keep you healthy and moving well. I control all the sequencing because as much as everyone loves variety of exercises and classes, and I want you to go out and do Zumba, do spinning. Of course, I hate yoga, but that's another story. And play tennis and ride your bike and ride a horse and go paddling. I want you to do varied activities. It's important that I am the watchtower, the gatekeeper that makes sure that within a month cycle that you work all your muscle fiber and you work all the ranges of motion so that you keep all your muscle sequencing firing correctly so that you can live well, age less, have as little wear and tear as possible, and of course, look hot and sexy, babe, because that's what it's about. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you soon for another layer of real Pilates.